Recently, Jordan Peterson recorded a message to the Christian churches which has some seemingly good truths here and there, but ultimately, his message is void of any biblical rational content. Instead, he strangely mixed in some of the agendas of the controllers of the world. Now, I don't know if Jordan Peterson is or have any idea if he's part of the boys' club and the mystery religion, but it should be warned that his psychology is that of the world and not of God. And so this video is a quick lesson on how easy it is to get confused with a little bit of truth and get deceived into believing the lies of the elite, which will make you crash and burn.
Human activity, particularly that undertaken in the West, is fundamentally a planet-despoiling enterprise. The human race is a threat to the ecological utopia that existed before us and that could hypothetically exist in our absence. We might well be construed even as a cancer that threatens the very viability of the complex systems that make up the ecosystem of the Earth that shelters and supports us. We are facing a Malthusian catastrophe of overpopulation and biosphere degradation. And we have to place extreme limits on our wants, even our needs, so that survival itself, even in a much reduced form, can be guaranteed.
We might well be construed even as a cancer, so that survival itself, even in a much reduced form, can be guaranteed.
She's right about the part that human activity is somewhat of a planet-despoiling enterprise. But it's such a pile of hypocrisy for the elite to say that we need to control the population because we are destroying the planet, when they are the most guilty for making and promoting big industry, marketing it, and then doing things like inventing and producing bombs and battery plants that do more damage to the environment than all of us so-called useless eaters put together. This is what they think of you, as you are the walking dead in their eyes, undeserving of life, unless you conform to the slavery they impress upon us. You see, man was not created for the environment, but the environment was created for man. And the truth is, most of the world is thriving away untouched and unharmed overall by industry and consumerism because God is way bigger than all of us put together, and his ecological system and universal laws work regardless of our obedience or disobedience. And while Jordan is worshiping ecological utopia as a way of life, his logic is void of respecting life and real truth. So then he ought to just quit talking, since he is actively participating in destroying the environment around us socially as he lies prostrate before psychology and worshiping nature. Whereas correct human posture takes us back to the Garden of Genesis, where man was created in the image of God to have dominion over the earth and its creatures. However, proper dominion is caring for one another in our surroundings in the spiritual attitude of lying prostrate before God and listening to him about what are the great commandments he has spoken and how we are to treat creation. The Jordan Petersons of the world position themselves as prophets to the church. And I want you to think about that, because there are many positioning themselves as prophets to the church. Jordan's profiting to the church is really not much better or worse than that of your typical pastor who goes about destroying the congregation by destroying the nature of God and destroying the nature of Christ and destroying the landscape of everything that's written in the Scripture. And if you're a Christian, then you're most likely being duped by the things that sound like they make sense but really spit in the face of God. The lesson here is don't listen to the lying prophets, whether they're sitting on their high horse of psychology from outside the church, or whether they're sitting on their high horse of tradition and philosophy inside the church. Your duty is to serve God in spirit and truth, according to God's interpretation and not man's. Now, if you want to go on being deceived, that's your choice. God gave you free will to do so. But if you want to know what God's true message is in the Scripture and overcome the lies of the false prophets that fill the pulpits all over America and the world, then I suggest you take a look at yourpastorlies.com.